What's up, CFO gang? It's your boy Jay Tuck. Real Cowboys fans stand up. And the Dallas Cowboys, as we know, are at voluntary. Y'all say it with me, voluntary OTAs. But that is about to change. We are gearing up for mandatory OTAs, meaning that you're required to be there. And so things will change, and we have to have some conversation because there's been some notably missing players when it comes to voluntary OTAs. Now, everyone's been talking about it as we do every offseason. Micah Parsons isn't at voluntary. Micah Parsons isn't at voluntary. Clarence Hill had went out and tweeted that Micah Parsons was not at voluntary workouts yesterday. And then 5 minutes later, Micah Parsons popped down from the sky like Sting from WCW. He just fell from the ceiling, and he's like, oh, well, actually, Micah Parsons is here. Now, according to Clarence Hill, pop, as you will, Micah saw him, turned around, like, nah, I'm not trying to talk to the media today. I'm not trying to do all that. So Micah has been missing. We know he was out of the country for a little bit enjoying his birthday. Micah said that his plane got delayed. Take it with the grain of salt if that's what you believe. I kind of think that's possibly the case. Brian Schottenheimer has been very vocal about his leader when it comes to to Micah Parsons, and saying, hey, I've talked to Micah, I talked to Micah. Everything is cool. And I think it's good that Micah is having a guy in Brian Schottenheimer that has his back publicly versus the media. Now, there's another player that has been missing. Trevon Diggs. So Trevon Diggs is in Florida training, getting prepared, recovering from the knee. But Trevon Diggs has a different situation. What we have to understand is Trevon Diggs is a made man. He's gotten his paid, rightfully deserved, gave us a massive discount, but there are incentives in Trevon's contract that if he isn't at voluntary, he can start losing some money. I think about up to $500,000 starting up here in a few weeks. So I'm not sure what's going on with Trevon. I know he's in Florida training, but Trevon, if you watch his channel, definitely subscribe to his channel and follow his content for his recovery. Good content. I love watching stuff like that. But Trevon really doesn't mess with the Dallas Cowboys trainers like that, and it kind of goes hand in hand because, every offseason, you kind of give those grades of the facilities and the coaches and all this, right? Our training staff has been marked D's and F's, D's and F's, D's and F's, right? So it feels like this year Trevon's like, man, I don't trust it. If your Metro do not trust you, I'm going to shoot. And Trevon does not trust the Dallas Cowboys training staff, so he's out training in Florida. Brian Schottenheimer kind of spoke about it, so we will see if Trevon Diggs is there at mandatory OTAs. But speaking of Micah Parsons, right, there's been this conversation about the contract. Stephen Jones has spoken out and say, hey, there hasn't been much movement. Haven't really spoken with the agents, which is crazy, right? If you go back to when Zach Martin was holding out, what was Stephen Jones saying? Well, we got to pay Micah, and we got this money earmarked for Micah, and Micah, right? So why are we sitting here June 4th and still saying you haven't picked up conversations when it comes to Micah Parsons when you knew rent was due? You knew rent was due years ago, 2 years ago, right? You should have been saving your money. That's some financial advice, not only for the Cowboys, but for you, the viewers, as well, right? So it seems like contract and talks hasn't really picked up when it comes to Micah Parsons. Now, a lot of people were questioning, is Micah going to be at voluntary OTAs? He was kind of in there sparingly, but mandatory OTAs, will he be there? And Micah has come out and spoken about where he is going to be when the Dallas Cowboys kick off mandatory OTAs. And this was a tweet from Clarence Hill. He had posted, will Micah Parsons be back next week for mandatory OTAs? Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer, I would assume Mike and I talked a couple of days ago. He's doing a little bit of traveling, but again, everything that he and I talked about, I expect that he will be there. I say that Mike and I have had good conversations, right? So that was been what Clarence Hill tweeted based off of the interview from press conference from Brian Schottenheimer yesterday. And then Micah comments on top of it, and he says, I will be there. Oh, hey, okay. Micah will be at mandatory OTAs. Good job, Micah. I haven't missed minicamp in 4 years. That's facts. He hasn't missed the mandatory, the shit that you actually get marked for, in 4 years. Even though the contract is not done. I have teammates and a playbook. I am preparing as if I will be on the field first week of camp. But it's in the owner's hands. I'm ready to win a Super Bowl, sprinkle a little pixie dust on it, right? But this right here, this shit right here, it's gonna get ugly in here, up in here. Word to Bubba Sparks, but it's in the owner's hands, right? So Micah is saying he will be at mandatory OTAs. Now, I know a lot of Cowboys fans were saying, oh yeah, Micah's gonna be at mandatory OTAs. Basically what Micah is saying, I'm gonna do the easy walkthrough shit, because if you watch OTAs, right, if you look at the photos, if you look at some of the clips, you don't see no mushroom helmets on. You don't see any of that. Why? Because they're going 25-30%. It's not full-on contact, so there's no reason to wear a concussion helmet, right? So Micah's saying, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do the walkthroughs. I'm going to do the team building activities. And, when we go to Dave and Buster's, I'm going to do all that. But that camp, that Oxnard stuff, where you're wanting me to go 100 miles per hour, spin move, rip move, right? Do all that. That is in the owner's hands. That's on Jerry Jones, and that is on Stephen Jones, right? I'm going to do the walkthroughs, right? Step left, step right, hit, right? But the real camp, when shit really matters, that is in the owner's hands. And if you know, like I know, we can say all this cultural stuff till we are blue in the face. Culture. I just love the culture, right? This is what needs to change, Cowboys Nation, right? You have a first-time head coach in Brian Schottenheimer. He's trying to change the culture. He has made Micah Parsons a leader, putting him in Dak Prescott's lockers aligned. He needs his leader, his star player, his defensive anchor in Oxnard. He needs it. Now, Mike McCarthy asked for this last year for CeeDee Lamb, like, hey, I would like to have my guys at camp, but they say, we'll put on Mike McCarthy, right? Brian Schottenheimer needs to be vocal and say, yo, I need this deal done. We can't drag this out where Micah's missing all of Oxnard and then you sign him kind of CD-esque when we get to Frisco, or Dak Prescott right before week 1. Like, no. I need my lion now. And there has to be some sense of urgency, because Micah Parsons has been handling these contract talks very admirable. But please, Steven, Jerry, media members, do not poke this lion, because if you poke this lion, he will attack. He's not going to take the Dak Prescott high road. He's not just going to be quiet. Like, if you poke this lion, he will attack. So to have a clean offseason when there's no distractions, no noise, no pollution, it is best that the Dallas Cowboys place a sense of urgency on getting this deal done before camp, man. So it's your boy J Tuck. Comment, like, subscribe. If you love Cowboys content, you're in the right spot. If you love having good football conversations, you're in the right spot. If you love just having fun, you are in the right spot. So subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell so you do not miss out. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged. And Steven and Jerry Jones, please don't make the same mistake you guys have been making by waiting on signing Micah Parsons, because this could get ugly. Peace.